closely, a little bit more at each time. And he's saying that's how the men do. So what they do is when you live with them, they look to see keenly how you live. He said they're looking to see. That's what Peter's saying. He said they're looking to see the behavior that you exhibit. And based on that, he said, I'm trying to understand who you are, what you're about, how you live, what makes you tick, how you work. He said, that's what I'm trying to do. He said, so that's what Peter is saying here. He said, men, if you submit yourself to God, he said, then that's going to allow you to be able to live with your wife in an understanding way, and then you'll be able to observe and see her character and how she behaves and how she's doing things. So that's why he tells them in the previous verses, you win them by your actions, and not by your words. And I know we want to pound into them, you need to do this, do that. Yes, I understand. But Peter says that doesn't win them over. He's saying the action is what wins them over, not the words. And that's what he's trying to exhibit here. Then all of a sudden, I started thinking about a time. Man, I think it just left my head. But I was thinking about it. It was I can't figure it out. I was going to tell you a story I thought about, but I can't think of it now. My wife will probably get all upset at me if I tell too many stories. So I'm going to pull back on that story right now. So, because I'm watching her, and I'm observing her, and I'm learning. So I'm going to pull back on that story right there because I'm watching and observing her. And when I see her, and if she moves a certain way, I go, no, don't bring that one out. So I won't bring that one out. But he says, look, this is what you need to do, man. You live with her, with your wives, in an understanding way, and since she is the weaker sex. And since she is the weaker sex, and he means here from a physical perspective. Not emotional, not intellectual. He's none of that. He says simply from a physical perspective, she's the weaker sex. That's it. He says that's it. He says not that she somehow is going to, morality is different. Because in the next sentence or so, he tells them, he says, look, you're all heirs to the grace of God. He says, so basically, you all stand there in front of God and you receive the exact same grace together. Together. So men, when you're with your wives and you then get into these conflicts, there are some things you need to understand. And you need to understand when to say nothing, when to say something, and when to say the right thing at the right time. You got to understand those. And see, there are times when you should say nothing. I was thinking about Texas A&M because, that's where Bobby goes to school. So Aggies always pop into my head because I think about these Aggies things. And I saw this Aggie joke. And it talked about an Aggie who went to Florida. Said he left Texas, went to Florida. And while he was in Florida, he met a young lady now, several young ladies that went to school at the Ivy League schools. And he went up to them in his old Texas drawl. He said, where do y'all go to school? Where do y'all go to school? That's what he said. They told him, we go to Yale. Y-A-L-E. So then he stepped back, took a deep breath, and he said, where do y'all go to school? He thought they were at Yale. Y-E-L-L. There's sometimes when you got to know what to say, when you got to know when to should say something, when you should say nothing. But then there's sometimes when you know the right thing to say at the right time. Another guy, he comes home. He's drunk. Comes home. He had been drinking, stayed out till about 3 in the morning. Comes home, throws up in the house. Walks in, hits his eye on the door. Then he falls and goes into the bedroom. His wife jerks him in the bedroom. Falls asleep. Wakes up the next morning. And by his bed was a glass of water, 2 aspirin, and a note from his wife. He looked over, he saw the water, he saw the aspirin, and he took the aspirin, drank the water. He read the note. It says, I adore you. I adore you. He gets up, he saw his clothes were pressed and ironed, laid out on the bed. He walked to the bathroom, he looked and he said, you got a black eye? And on the window there, the mirror, he saw he had a rose written there. And another note says, honey, I went to the store. to buy you a new set of golf clubs. I love you. He was sitting there scratching his head, what's going on? He stumbled downstairs where his son is downstairs eating Fruit Loops. And he says, son, something's not right. Well, I've got breakfast here waiting for me. He said, what happened last night? He said, well, Dad, you came home at about 3 in the morning. You walked in the house, you threw up, you bumped your eye on the door. Mama tried to drag you into the room in there. And she fell on the bed. She said she began to take your clothes off. And you started screaming, don't touch me, lady, I'm married. Knowing the right thing to say. Right thing to say. At the right time. The moral of the story is, he broke some furniture, $200. A rose, $20. Breakfast, $10. Aspirin, $1. Knowing what to say at the right time? Price. Listen, communication is the key. You've got to talk. You cannot walk around pouting in silence and not talking to one another. And it will not work. You cannot communicate in your marriages that way. Look, we've tried it. I'm telling you, we tried it. We've tried to go 2 or 3 weeks not talking to each other, just grunting. It don't work. You know, we pass by each other, back at you. Get in the car, right? It don't work. You can't really effectively talk about the kids. You can't talk about, financial things. You can't talk because you're grunting. You're just sitting there, man. Look, pouting and silence does not work. So if you're doing it, you need to stop. Because it won't work. So you're grunting at each other, it's not going to happen. You're going to have to talk those things through. That's the only way you handle conflict. There's no other way. Hey, we went to the grocery store one time when we were grunting at each other. Grunting, carrying on. Saw a sign. She was being smart. She's being smart. Saw a sign about the circus coming into town. Had gorillas, orangutans, all them things on it. One of them clowns riding bicycles. So I'm getting smart. You ain't talking to me no way. So, since you ain't talking to me, guess what? Look at the sign there. Some of your relatives. Kept struggling. I got her. I said, got her, Colette. I got her. I said, I got her then. Boom, right there. And what she gonna say to that? I keep rolling. She gonna push the button. Yeah, your in-laws. I didn't have no comeback. I'm just what I'm gonna say. I couldn't get it there. It was too late. But communication is the key. You guys got to talk. You guys got to talk. You can't walk around in pouting, silence, grunting. It's not going to work. But look what he says. He says, men, show her that she is a woman, and you need to show her with honor and respect. There's nothing a woman loves more than when you sit down and talk to her. When you say, look, this is the issue. This is the problem. This is what I'm feeling. It's nothing. She loves that. When you're able to sit with her and talk things through. They're going to want to talk. I know. They're going to want to talk. But she loves that the most. When you're able to sit. Because the silence does not work. It doesn't. But he goes on, he says, look, brotherly, to honor and fellow heirs of the grace of life, so that your prayers will not be cut off. Because when you're not in a right relationship with your wife, you can't be in a right relationship with God. So basically he's saying that God will not hear your prayers if you're in conflict because you can't be that way. He says you have to become together, and that allows you then for your prayers to be answered by God. He simply makes it plain, just as plain as that, on how you handle marital conflict within the home. Now, we're going to close. If there's anyone here today that doesn't know God,